Hello guys, Furball the Hammy, your friendly neighborhood hamster, is back again for another Hypixel Skyblock video. Today's video will be about what you should expect from dungeons after analyzing the leaked footage on Jaya Varman's Twitter page, and these are some things I noticed that you may have missed. As the list goes down further, the less noticeable tips in the clip will be exposed, so be sure to watch it to the end of the video and to leave a like and to subscribe if you enjoyed. So with that, let's begin with the video. As seen from the clip, you can notice that dungeons have secret rooms hidden in secret spots with chests that can be opened that give dungeon buffs. One of these buffs is called the Blessing of Power, which gives an added plus 1% strength and 1% crit damage to everyone. There is also a second dungeon buff that was revealed in the video, although very subtle and very tricky. Early on in this clip, as you notice, when Jaya opens his chat, notice that it says Miniclone found a Blessing of Life 5, which gives 15% HP and plus 15% health regeneration. So this means that these buffs can range from weak to super powerful, so be sure to find these secret buffs in dungeons. Obvious tip number 2, important gear you must get. If you notice, Miniclone was using superior dragon armor and nothing was out of the ordinary. And with mobs that have been seen to have 46,000 HP, as seen from the Crypt Dreadlord, it has 46,000 HP, which means that offensive builds will still work, as offensive builds can do over 100,000 per hit with little issues. Although it is still recommended to have a support and a tank build in the team. On top of that, as you can tell, dungeons requires you to wear your own gear and own your own items, which is finally something different from the winter event, where a newbie can participate in it and get all items and win with no issues. Since you only need a snow cannon, literally, so don't expect it to be like the winter event where some things are provided for you. So be sure to gear up and get superior or perfect 12 and good armor combinations, which I revealed in my previous videos, link in the description. One for tank builds and the other for offensive builds. Dungeons may have new armor and weapons, and one of the new weapons was exposed in the video. Although it's only a rare weapon, which I will review later in the video, but if floor 1 of dungeons begins with such strong mobs, I'm pretty sure you need more than just strong or unstable dragon armor, so be sure to prep up. And also, be sure to get the Slayer swords, namely Scorpion Foil, Reaper Falchion, and the Pooch sword, because the mobs in the dungeons may be zombies, spiders, or wolves. And as seen in the video, the mobs faced was zombies, which means that a Reaper Falchion may be very useful. However, even if dungeons is a mix of mobs, having these Slayer weapons at hand could allow you to beat certain mobs a lot more easily in these dungeons, so be sure to get those Slayer weapons at the very least. And now moving on to the subtle tips that you might not have noticed. Subtle tip number 1, dungeons can only fit 4 players. As you can tell from the video, there are 4 usernames in the site, which suggests that dungeons may have a limit on players entering, which means that the B-pad might not be as good as I thought, since I assume that 15 people can enter a dungeon together. I'll assume that the dungeons will require a small team, probably not more than 5, since the map itself isn't that large to fit 10 or even 15 people. Hence, if you are considering buying a legendary B-pad, I recommend holding it off for a while. It seems like the legendary B-pad will be only good for global bosses, such as the Magma boss and the Ender Dragon pad, where more than 15 people can fight together, but maybe not so much for dungeons. Subtle tip number 2, special drops, special keys, and golden doors. As you can notice in the clip I'm showing, you will notice that when the Crypt Dreadlord Sepharnam, also spelled as S-F-A-R-N-A-M, the chat shows that he picked up an enchanted gold and a wither key. And as Jaya opens the chat, you see a distinct notification: a golden door has been opened by Sepharnam. This suggests that either wither keys are used to open these doors within these dungeons for maybe secret buffs or maybe to progress through these dungeons. Furthermore, when Jaya pulls up the map, which shows the layout of the entire dungeons, it also shows one yellow painted area which has a room behind it that's unexplored. the yellow area could likely represent one of the golden doors, since gold and yellow are of the same in color, and that means that you will be required to open these doors to progress or to find special buffs. And now moving on to subtle tip number 3, the new bow. If you notice in the clip where Jaya swaps weapons to his bow, for a glimpse of the moment, you will notice that the bow is called the machine gun bow, and is blue in color, suggesting that it's a new bow that's a rarity bow. I assume that this bow will allow you to shoot arrows quickly in a rapid fire succession, but since it's just a rare bow, I doubt it would replace Runans or Mosquito. It seems more like a mid-game bow to compete with the Hurricane bow and the Endstone bow, but it does seem pretty cool. And last but not least, subtle tip number 4, dungeon flaws. Last but not least, Jaya mentioned in his post that the video he shows is only the first floor of dungeons. There are likely to be more floors, probably hundreds or even thousands in the future. Although I wouldn't count on Skyblock releasing 1000 floors at once, maybe I expect it to be like 50 or so floors to be released. I wouldn't assume that more than 100 would be released at once. And furthermore, assuming that each floor gets harder as you progress, which is a totally safe assumption, that means that if the first floor is that difficult or like moderately difficult for mid to late game players, it might get pretty darn hard as the floors go up. So because of that, I recommend you guys to better grind and to get the better gear in order to progress through dungeons a lot more easily. And now for the final analysis. So what's the takeaway from these secrets that were revealed and noticed by me? I'll cover it in 3 quick and succinct tips. Tip number 1. Decent gear is necessary and defensive gear may be good. In my previous video where I predicted amazing armor combinations and armor sets, I've had a group of people coming to tell me that dungeons will have new gear that will be better than the previous gear and the current gear, and that because of that there is no need to get the expensive suggested gear. While I respect your decisions and my builds are certainly not perfect or the definition of what you need for dungeons, looking at what the admins are wearing and the weapons that they are using, which are largely the same excluding the machine gun bow, which is a rare bow, it is likely to be weaker than Runans and Mosquito. It suggests that the gear you need to beat dungeons with is likely with your own gear, and you'll definitely need some decent gear, as seen by how challenging floor 1 is. Also, if you notice in the clip, as shown above where the Hypixel team is playing a game of tic-tac-toe, you will notice that 2 other players are wearing Protector Dragon armor. Does this suggest a Protector Dragon armor buff? Or is it that the admins are hinting that defense will be important for dungeons, like how they told us Perfect 12 is good for dungeons? It may be a lead or a hint, so be sure to get yourself Perfect 12 or Protector Dragon armor. Since it's really cheap, it might actually be a good investment. Number 2 is team-based. As much as we assume that dungeons will be like Slayers where it's pseudo-team-based, meaning that you can do it by yourself or with a friend, we can safely assume that dungeons will be team-based, and because of that, be sure to find a few friends or a guildmate in order to pair up with and to fight dungeons. Although the first floor doesn't seem that tough for an endgame player to solo, be sure to bring a friend or 2, and also don't forget your overfluxes and potions. Since these dungeons will be team-based, splashing one another with pots will be amazing. And last but not least, the third takeaway for today would be that dungeons is for late and endgame players. As sad as this sounds, if floor 1 already has mobs with 46,000 health, it suggests that it certainly isn't a place for newbies or novices to hang out to grind. Hence, if you just started Skyblock or are in mid-game, be sure to get yourself at least strong dragon armor and an aspect of the dragons along with a lot of talismans to enjoy and have fun in dungeons. And with that, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed my thorough analysis of the video Jaya sent, and I hope you guys have a nice day and that you guys learn a thing or two. And with that, this is Furball the Hammy, your friendly neighborhood hamster, signing out.